right, so it looks like we got most people joined in now. We want to just give it a couple minutes before everybody joins, but I think we can get started. It'll be a second before we really get into it. We're going to do some introductions first. But anyways, hey everybody, thanks for joining. This is the Faceware webinar today. I guess that we're going to go through Portal. We're going to go through some new features. We're going to go through some QA. We're going to go through a whole demo. I appreciate everybody joining in and sticking around with us. My name is Max Murray. If you don't know me, I'm the head of sales and business development here, mostly for our North America CG, VFX, and video game teams. I'm pretty much the account manager that you get a hold of and that I direct you to the right folks on our side. And with me, of course, is my counterpart, Chris.
How's it going, guys? My name's obviously Chris Barton. I'm a technical account manager here at Faceware. I work with all the hardware and software on our team. I support teams that are working with it all and make sure that everybody's up and running. Just for a little bit of context of my history, I've got 8 years working in the motion capture industry, so I have lots of experience working with Faceware and working on stages. So any questions you guys have when you contact Max, they'll probably be directed to me.
Yep. So just for everybody's awareness while we're walking through all this, I'm going to start with a presentation. I'm going to kind of walk through. If this is your first time seeing Faceware Portal, we talked about it a bit over the past couple months. We've done some live demonstrations, etc. But if this is your first time, we'll fill you in, and then we're going to quickly get into some brand new stuff, and we're actually going to run through a live demonstration, of course, which is the best part of all this. But there is a Q&A at the very end. I just want to make everybody aware of that. If you have questions, you should have an option in your panel for GoToWebinar. Type them in there. We will see them, and then we will spend a lot of time making sure we get to them. So without further ado, though, let me share my screen, and I'm going to actually walk through this presentation for everybody. All right, there we go. All right, so yeah, like I said before, let's just get right into the presentation. First thing we wanted to just mention is that start out by highlighting GDC this year with us. We were there for the first time in a couple of years here, and it was great to be able to come back, see everybody in person, and actually debut Faceware Portal the first time publicly. We did a lot of demos on the floor. We took people in and grabbed some videos of them and their performance, and then quickly processed it to live animation right there as people walked by. Saw a ton of familiar faces, a lot of new people, a lot of excitement. This presentation, a lot of it was shown on the floor, and then there's, of course, some new stuff here, but we wanted to make this available to the broader community as well. If you weren't able to be at GDC, well, we didn't want to leave you hanging. So to talk about it, today's webinar, we're going to go through a little bit of an agenda here. We're going to go through what is Faceware Portal, what makes it different if you're familiar with our other product lines, and that includes some time savings, some areas there that really benefit your whole team. Of course, we're going to show you some real life examples, go through some case studies, get through some what's coming up and what's new with Portal, and then of course the live demonstration. And like I said, we reserve time at the end for Q&A, so please throw some questions at us. So just off the top, what is Portal? So Faceware Portal is a brand new product line from us. It's a cloud-based platform that generates animation and retargeting data automatically. If you're familiar with our other product lines like Analyzer, Retargeter, or Faceware Studio, this is separate from them, but there's some crossovers, and we'll absolutely address that. But essentially, you can go from video capture to final animation faster, very easy, and it increases your team's efficiency, which thereby enables your entire team to create more content than you've ever been able to. So across the pipeline of your facial animation team, just gonna highlight where Faceware Portal fits into the ecosystem of the Faceware pipeline. On the capture side, we of course still recommend our Mark IV headcams. This is essentially the way that all of our training data has been based and built off of, which is framing from our headcam systems. Still recommend that as the preferred option. But coming out of that, you may be familiar with Faceware Analyzer. Faceware Analyzer, of course, takes that video data and tracks it and provides motion data into the next step of our pipeline. What we're talking about is a replacement of Analyzer, which is Faceware Portal. Portal still generates that exact same FWR file. You won't have any difference as the file format coming out of there if you need to. But on top of that, Portal actually generates some other things too, some other motion data files like the JSON data file that we'll talk through too, that even further increases your team's efficiency. On the solving side, if you're familiar with our other product line, Retargeter, for instance, that doesn't change. Faceware Portal feeds right into that. So that tracking data that normally would have come from Analyzer instead is Retargeter. You can use a Portal to generate that FWR file that goes into Retargeter. And then similarly, that alternate form, that JSON file format, can go as a direct animation pipeline straight into Unreal or Maya or whatever engine your team uses. We'll talk through that too and show you some examples. Last is just as a highlight, we have a services option available. If any of these aren't necessary or right for your project, our team can help with that too. You can contact us and we can fill in the gaps where it sees fit for your project. So why is it different? Why would you use it as opposed to Analyzer? It's a great point, and that's really what we want to highlight. Both of these shots, you'll see same actor, same shot, same processing. A lot of the data coming out of it is at the same quality bar. On the left, though, this shot went through Analyzer, and this takes these 18 steps to get to this quality bar. Across the board, that takes an experienced animator or an experienced Analyzer user somewhere between 6 to 8 hours to get to a finished project. Whereas in Portal, the process takes minutes and it is completely automatic. You see these 4 steps on the right here. Shoot the shot, upload it, Portal works through it automatically, and then you just download your finished file. You actually see some differences in how the data looks, the annotation on the actor's face, but the underlying data is completely the same, and in some cases, actually better when it's used through Portal as opposed to manually tracked. But to highlight that, the biggest thing I really want to call out is that it's not based on a tracking model. It's not based on ROMs. It's not based on building a library of information of one actor. You can simply upload one video without a lengthy process of training and building a model. You can get those high quality results right away. So the shot right here of Kat, if you guys are familiar with her previous Faceware team member, we didn't have a library built for Kat. We just uploaded this one shot and got this data back right away. Now the files that come out of it, of course, FWR files if you're going into Retargeter, and that's still what we recommend if you're doing a cinematic pipeline. You want to do some high touch, you want to clean it up, your animators want to polish on top of, you want to make changes. Of course, that makes total sense. But alternatively, that JSON pipeline coming out of Portal is another huge value add. We actually did a whole webinar on this. There's a video up on our YouTube channel. We can throw it up here in chat so you guys can see it. But the JSON pipeline is very open. It's completely engine agnostic, and it is right for a lot of teams that want a low or no touch pipeline. It's your fastest Autosolve possible, and it's in 2 or 3 minutes you have great data. And again, we've done lots of demonstrations of this. There's lots of examples up on our website, up on our YouTube channel, and we're gonna show you a little bit more of that too. But what this really comes down to is how much time does this really save? So the goal is saving time and reallocating your resources across your animation team. So how much time? What does this really look like across a project? Well, this shot here, for instance, that shot we saw of Kat earlier, to traditionally track this would take somewhere around 3 to 6 hours of manual work. And in Portal, that same shot takes 2 or 3 minutes. And again, it's completely automatic. You'll see in these time-lapse videos here. On the left, an animator is going through and manually tracking each of the different expressions Kat does across her eyes, her nose, her eyebrows, her mouth, her jaw. On the right, the process is much simpler. You simply come into Portal, upload the video, set a couple things like what's your actor's name, what's the frame rate, what's the rotation of the video, and you're off. It generates it automatically, and a minute later you can download that same file. So extrapolating that across a whole project, say we have 2.5 hours of allocated animator time. A traditional pipeline, you may be getting through a single shot like this, where you're processing it, you're tracking it, you're running it through and getting that head start, that first pass animation. Alternatively, on the right here, that's just 25 videos is the same amount, or with that same amount of time, we know we can get through that same amount of data there in 2.5 hours, which is huge. Think of all the time savings that takes across an entire project or beyond just 2.5 hours, or if you have multiple animators. So from the animator's perspective, we like to say your traditional pipeline, your animators are working fast and furious. But if you're working with Faceware Portal, there's a little bit extra time for you to allocate somewhere else. You have time for coffee. You have time to honestly work on something else that your team needs while Portal is running through all that for you. So as far as real world examples, that's what I think everybody finds the most value here. And we want to put some examples together for you. So this first project we had was a 6 hours of performance capture footage that the client needed to be tracked and processed. This was for a top tier episodic television project. Now, speed was the biggest concern for this team because they needed everything extremely fast and they knew they had a few reshoots and iterations that they wanted to plan with. So we worked with them and identified that throughout their manual and traditional pipeline, it would take their best animation tracker about their most experienced tracker would do about 10,000 frames per day, which means across the whole team that would take around 100 days or 3 months to finish, which they didn't have. On top of that, this team didn't just need FWR files, they didn't just need that motion data, they actually wanted to get head start animation. They wanted to jump into first round iterations as well. So we knew that something like that would take even longer as opposed to just the first 100 days to get through all of that. They had a small team. This wasn't something that they could just throw a ton of people at and make the problem go away. So they needed another solution. So instead, we talked with them about Portal, and they ended up utilizing it and processed everything, tracked everything through Portal, got not only that motion data track file, but the JSON data to run through, and did it all within 9 days, which was huge for them. This included not only production delays that they had to go through, but the iterations to plan around as well, in order to get that first pass into engine. Now, if it wasn't for the iterations and those reshoots that they had to do, we know that amount of data, because we just talked about this, we know that 6 hours of data would actually process in about 12 hours total. So if they had everything up front, we could have batched through everything. But this is of course their speed. And across their team, we just made sure to, we worked with them and identified that same amount of speed would have taken them 12 highly trained trackers to get through, to compare to the same level of time savings for Portal, which is unbelievable. Second would be, I just kind of want to also highlight a service-based model. We actually this team took advantage of us doing it for them because they didn't want direct access to Portal. They wanted us to process it and return it to them. Now, speed wasn't a factor for them, as this was a long production and not everybody on their performance team, not all of their performance data was ready at once. So they wanted to highlight more of a traditional production pipeline schedule. So this team had roughly 5.5 hours of content, and it was being shot, importantly, over a 2-month period across multiple actors and multiple locations. So our goal with this team was to set a cadence that they liked, where they would take the selects from a shoot day, send them to us, we would process and return it back to them at whatever speed fit their needs. And this team wanted everything back as FWR files, not as the JSON pipeline we just talked about. And that was because they had their own retargeting team. They had their own animation team that they wanted to actually process and hand clean and polish. They just didn't want to go through the lengthy process of tracking all the data. It made sense to them. And so what we were able to do is, again, set the cadence of a 7-day period. That wasn't the fastest we could do, but it made sense for them. And we were able to get through that and make sure that they saved an incredible amount of time compared to their previous project. So that being said, what's new, what's coming with Portal? If you guys have already seen Portal, if you've used it, if you're one of our many users out there, you may be asking, hey, it's what's coming down the road for it? We're excited that today's Friday. Yeah, today we're actually, later today is going to be pushing a new build, or I guess a new version of Portal online. You would have received, if you're a user, you would have received an update about this, but just for the rest of everybody, just going to highlight 3 big features that are coming. First is some organizational updates, meaning your team can now come in here and assign roles, you can assign names, you can invite new members, and there's actually 2-factor authentication for password protection for teams as well. Second is a new way to organize projects, a new project feature within Portal as well. So if you're working on multiple projects at once, or if you got test data, or if you got a couple different actors, however you want to organize it, you can set up different project groups and then process all of your footage into these areas of these buckets that your team has a little bit more control over. And last is more of an experimental one that we wanted to put up for some teams as a requested feature. We're introducing a new headcam tracking model, a grayscale experimental model. This is, maybe you have some footage that came from a IR footage or grayscale models, or something that's not traditionally, something's wrong with your footage that's not tracking well with our traditional Mark IV or best practices headcam model. We would just recommend using this one. This is, again, completely experimental. We want teams to kind of use it and then report back to us their findings, their feedback, and either it keeps improving on our end, or we'll find some ways to improve it for the next generation. All of these things, really, Chris is going to spend some time showing too. So I wanted to give more of a just quick snapshot, and then when Chris gets into the demo, he can spend a little bit more time on each of them. And speaking of, that's everything from me. I think we will jump over to that now and give it to Chris. So, Chris, when you get a chance, let me know whenever you. Oh, you're back. All right, great.
Back.
Let me shuffle some stuff around here. All right, so as you guys can see, Chris is here. We've got a new member with Chris. This is Kenley. Kenley's on our business development team. You've probably emailed Kenley. She's emailing everybody all the time. Kenley is our wonderful model for the day. She's going to be recording some stuff for us live so you guys can all see a live performance and then quickly turned into live animation. So Chris, why don't you take it away from here, man?
All right, so Kenley, we're going to be doing a recording here, just about a 10-second clip. We're going to start with the neutral face, or a neutral relaxed face looking straight ahead. That's important for the JSON and the Autosolve workflow that we're going to be showing. So when you're ready, let me know, and let me just quickly show the performance. There we go. And when you're ready, go ahead and neutral face, or make a neutral face, and rolling.
You put barbecue chips on your sandwich? Actually, that sounds really good.
All right, and we're gonna cut that. Max, what did you think? Should we do it one more time just for safety's sake?
I liked it. Kenley, I saw a couple different ranges of emotion. Could you give me a little more disgust maybe?
Okay, let's do it again. Go ahead and neutral face, straight ahead, rolling.
You put barbecue chips on your sandwich? Actually, that sounds really good.
And cut. Cool. I think that looked good. Yeah, Max?
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, me too. I like the look up at the end, like you're thinking about it. All right, so let's switch to our wide view. Let me unplug real quick. All right, Kenley, you are free to go. Thank you very much for your performance. One last mic. All right, there we go. Cool. All right, so what we're going to be doing now is I'm going to be pulling the videos off of the drive. So if you guys can give me one moment while I do that, I'm going to be using HFS Explorer to pull the performance off of the drive and get it onto my PC. And once I've done that, I'll walk you through what we're going to be doing. We're going to be starting with Retargeter, and I'm going to be using our Autosolve feature, which when using Portal leverages the JSON workflow to get an even better Autosolve than before. So let me quickly get the video. All right, so we just got video 20 that we just shot today. Ignore the time, my key froze off. And let's check it, see how that performance looks. So if I go here.
You put barbecue chips on your sandwich?
And it looks like we did not get audio.
Actually, that sounds really good.
Audio came through on my side, Chris.
Okay. Well, if it came through on your side, then we'll call it good. I did not hear it, but
yeah,
that's great.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with Portal then. So this is Portal. It's our updated Portal. I'll walk through the interface. I'm going to start the upload process and get it rolling, and then I'll walk through. But what I'm going to start with is a new thing that we've added that Max talked about. Is I'm going to create a new project, and I'm going to name our project. And then quick description, demo A, and we're going to create. So that creates a new webinar demo, and that's where we're going to upload this video to. It's an individual project, so you can have multiple projects. You can organize this by talent, by project, however you'd like. This is up to you to use. And we're going to upload the video here. It's worth noting that you can drag and drop into this window as well. You can drag and drop multiple videos. So let's go to that video space where we have it. And let's upload 20. We have in this interface, we have our actor name. So this can be your character name, your actor ID. It's totally up to you. I'm just going to call it Demo A to start with. For those of you who haven't seen Portal before, we have tracking versions. If we do updates, you can choose to update to the latest tracking version, or if you've already started your project in a certain tracking version, you can continue to use that version to keep consistency. We have a static cam model, so if you are doing a pickup shot or a shot with a DSLR or webcam, you can use this to do a static cam. We have our head cam option, and what Max talked about briefly was the experimental, the grayscale option for those of you with footage that is IR or black and white, or may have some color issues like it's cyan or something like that. For now, we're going to select head cam, and we're going to do a rotation of 90. This is so you don't have to edit the videos if your videos are coming in a different orientation. And then we're going to do one more thing. We're going to upload a neutral frame. So this is something I didn't capture yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up VLC. I'm just going to hit Shift S. Anybody can do this. This is how I recommend people grab the neutral frame. And we're going to go to Browse, Pictures, Pictures, I can see. There we go. And we're going to grab that capture, view medium icons. There we go. There it is. We're going to place it in our folder just for consistency. And then we're going to upload that neutral frame. Yep, cool. And then we're going to click process. We're going to double check our settings, head cam 90 degrees. Yep, and we're going to hit process. So you can see here on our interface, we uploaded that. It started to process. And while that's processing, I'm just going to upload a few more videos. We captured a bunch of videos of Kenley just talking and doing random stuff. So I'm going to upload those so that they're processing while this one is working and while we're doing the demo. And we're going to check to make sure they're all the correct orientation. When batching, you want to make sure that you're batching all consistent with the settings. It's something that I've made mistakes and others have. So let's call these tests or demo A, head cam, cool. And while that's uploading, we'll talk a little bit about the interface. I'm locked in. Give me one moment for this upload. Grabbed one too many videos for our upload speed. Max, do you have anything that I've missed or so far?
No, I think that's a pretty good overview.
All right.
I do have one person that's asked while we're waiting for the all those clips to upload, Chris. I do have one person that asked in terms of utilizing Portal. Excuse me, what frame rates does Faceware support with this pipeline?
Yeah, good question. So with Portal, it supports all frame rates, all standard frame rates. So 5994, 60, 120, 2430. Our recommended frame rate is 60 frames per second for facial capture. It is what our headcam captures at, primarily because it captures all of the nuanced quick expressions and because it file size. When you're shooting dozens of takes a day with multiple talent, we want to make sure that the file size is staying smaller so that you're not having to have a lot of storage issues and stuff like that. So the answer is any frame rate that is standard. We're going to click process. So in the time it took to upload those, let's go to page 2. We can see that our first video that we uploaded finished. It was 786 frames, and it finished in 1 minute and 67 seconds. To kind of go over what we have in this interface, we have our Faceware Analyzer project. If there's an issue with tracking over maybe 100 frames or so, you can actually download this and fix that tracking inside of Analyzer and then bring it back into Retargeter. Typically what we find is that with a 100 frame issue or things like that, it's actually faster to continue through the pipeline and then fix it in post and clean up the animation curves. We find a lot of animators would prefer to fix about 100 frames or a couple hundred frames of like poor tracking or occlusion inside of Maya rather than going back into Analyzer. And it's not something we typically see if you're following our best practices. Tracking on Portal is fantastic, so I don't expect many of you to need it. The next thing we have is our retargeter file. This is our normal retargeting workflow. It does have an updated Autosolve, which is what I'm going to be demonstrating today. And then we also have our controlled JSON data, which is our JSON data for another procedural workflow directly into Engine. Just to kind of show the tracking results, we're going to go here and hit play and review it. This is so that you can review the tracking, how well it did. You can download this video as well. It's a very small video for reference on your guys' server or locally so that you can have it as a reference. Your artist can review it. You can do that through here. Just go back. So what I'm going to do is download the JSON data and the retargeter project. And I just wanted to show our organization view. So in our organization view, you can name your company and you can add your logo to it. We have our subscription. And then we also have a members page. I'm not going to show that because we have members on our team and their emails and stuff. But in that, there's two types of owners. There's an owner and a member. The owner has control over Portal, can create folders, disable folders, and the members can upload to those folders. So that's a brief overview of that, the new interface and some of the things that we brought to Portal. Any questions you guys might have after that, I'm happy to take on a follow-up call. I've downloaded the two. What's up, Max?
Hey, no, nothing. No.
Oh, okay.
You did hear me, but I don't want to interrupt you, so keep going.
Okay.
Please.
I was like, I wasn't sure. Maybe it was static. Okay. I can't see anything with all the windows open. So I've downloaded the JSON data in the FWR. Let's go to our downloads folder. And let's just copy those, make sure that's today. And let's go to our webinar folder and let's paste it in here. Okay. So from there, we're going to go into Maya. So some of you may have seen this procedural workflow before using the JSON. I will kind of go over that while it's baking at just a high level, but today I'm going to be demonstrating Retargeter's Autosolve, which leverages the JSON data to solve. So I have Retargeter open, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Performances, and I'm going to open. And so what I'm going to do is navigate to that FWR file that I just downloaded, and then I'm going to navigate to a character setup file. And I'll kind of go over what a character setup file is. It's a really easy thing to set up. We have a lot of documentation on how to do it, and it doesn't take super long to pose your character. But let's start the Autosolve, and I can kind of walk through that. So let's hit OK. All right. So right now, the performance is being auto-solved onto the character. To kind of go over what the character setup file is, it's a really simple tool where we give you a bunch of poses and you're going to pose your rig to match those poses. So you can see eye direction up, blink left, blink right, and basically we give you a bunch of expressions and you're going to pose your character to match these expressions. And once you've done that, you're going to save out that character setup file, and that's what you're going to use to do this auto solve. It's worth noting too that with Retargeter, it's rig agnostic, so you can use any rigs. You can add your controls. It doesn't even have to be a character rig. You could connect it to different things. Basically anything, any kind of normal curve or control inside of Maya, you can add it in there. So we're very flexible in that sense. Looks like we're still baking a little bit. Let's actually go over the JSON while this is working. So I'm going to open this up. On a follow-up call, we can kind of go over more of what this is, but the JSON data is a number of expressions coming out of Portal that are being evaluated, and each expression is labeled individually, and then it's coming out as a value of 0 to 1. So what that allows you to do is create a procedural pipeline where you bake that data either directly into Engine or Maya. So if you have technical animators or you have a large team where you're doing high volumes of data, this is a way of processing that really fast through scripting. And to just kind of show you what that kind of looks like, this is a character mapping file that we've created for a metahuman specifically. It's just an example, but you can see the eye look left is mapped to the eye look left of the character. So when the value of the control or eye look left comes to 1, it's going to set that value of the control to 1. And you can kind of see, you can mix and match, you can do floats, all this stuff. So this is more of a technical approach. It's not how I would use the procedural stuff coming out of Portal, because I am not a programmer. I would definitely go the retargeter route using the FWR file and the character setup file. But this is just a high level overview of what the JSON data is. And let's see if we finished. Looks like we finished. So let's just scrub through and see, all right, our animation. And just so that we have a reference, let me get our little, this, when you import in the FWR, comes in, this plane comes in with the FWR so that you have this reference plane to put alongside your character for reference. So let's just scrub through. Looks like we're good. Max, let me know if you hear this at all, because obviously I can't. Is there audio coming through a little bit?
Yeah, audio is okay. You know, it's gibberish as you're scrubbing, but I can hear it.
Okay. So we can see here that what has happened is each frame has been baked. You can see all of the controls have keys and are moved. So this allows your animator to quickly go and start animating on top of that. Just for visibility, let's do a quick Playblast. Browse. Let's see how this looks. Playblast. All right. I'll play it once inside of Maya too, but for any of you Maya users out there, you know how great Maya is. Motion Builder for the win for real-time playback.
It's funny, I can hear Kenley's voice in slow motion in my head as it's playing. So
yeah, that's funny. All right, let's check it out.
You put barbecue chips?
Now let's go to the folder. And then Playblast. And then let me just play this back.
You put barbecue chips on your sandwich?
Let me know if you can hear it, Max.
Actually, that sounds really good.
yeah, that came through great. Chris, could you just play it one more time?
Yeah, because I tabbed.
You put
Apologies.
barbecue chips on your sandwich? Actually, that sounds really good.
Yeah, love it. You get a lot of the nuances in Kenley's performance there.
Put barbecue chips on your sandwich?
Looking all right through the webinar. I know that after the call,
that sounds
you that
really
choppy,
good.
we're going to be uploading this so that you guys can view it in real time.
You
So,
put barbecue chips
is it coming through all right on your end?
sandwich?
Yeah, it's just hold on.
Actually, that sounds really good.
Yeah, if you want to pause it, that's it. It's just there's overlapping audio between me and you talking over it.
You put
Okay, there we go.
There you go. But yeah, like Chris mentioned, we're going to upload this later. So if there was any connection problem on your guys' side, if you didn't see it clearly, we'll just simply host it on Vimeo or something so you can see the final results.
Cool. And that's Retargeter and the JSON workflow in a nutshell.
Perfect. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate you showing all that and walking through it. I know we have Q&A here. We have a bunch of people that have asked some questions. Before we do that, I'm just going to do a quick high-level summary of kind of what we've all seen here. So let me share my screen one last time. Just as a recap for everybody, talking about what Portal does and what it offers. So As a recap though, you can create a lot of facial processing in a fraction of the time as compared to our normal pipeline. In addition, it's completely ROM-less, it's completely tracking model-less. You can go from individual videos like you saw today of Kenley right to a final animation very quickly through a traditional pipeline or otherwise. It's one click to process everything through Portal. And it's multiple workflows. Chris showed off the Maya workflow. He overviewed the JSON pipeline too, which again, we talked about, which would be into any other engine you'd want. But it also works with any character rig. We're showing off Metahumans because it's easily accessible. We can grab some that look and perform really, really well. But if you have a stylized rig or your team has created something more bespoke to you, works with them just as well. Of course, you can bypass Retargeter if you need to and just do a straight to engine approach. Something we didn't talk too much about, but I think is a really big point to bring up is complete capture confidence on set, meaning your team on set can start working with Portal to make sure that the choices you made on set with your headcams and your capture for your actors is at the highest quality confidence. Meaning if there's any changes you need to make, you can do it right then and process on Portal, and you'll know right away if anything had any lighting changes or framing changes needed. So what that ultimately boils down to is reclaiming hundreds of hours across your team from manually tracking, and much more consistent results as opposed to every individual animator choosing different ways to do facial tracking or different places to put training frames on the actor's face. And what that means is your animator is spending more time actually animating, not tracking. So with all that said, Chris, if it's okay with you, I'm going to jump over to Q&A and we'll start answering everybody's questions.
Sure.
Let's do it. So let's see here. Well, appreciate everybody. Yeah, appreciate everybody, all the questions you guys have asked while we've been going through this. If you have any others, please throw them in. We'll go through them in order here. So from the top, I'm seeing a couple members rather asking if there's pricing available for Portal. Absolutely, yeah. There's Portal's available on a per year license model. So you're welcome to reach out to us and we'll walk through all of that with you. Essentially, as part of our enterprise program, you wouldn't just be signing up for a license of Portal. Right now, it's bundled in with everything. You would get full licenses of all of our products, plus an unlimited capacity with Portal as well, as far as processing capabilities. I see some questions about the Mark IV. I'm going to come back to them, I promise. Let's just move into Portal questions first. Here's one from Ayush that says, if I'm planning to incorporate Faceware pipeline in my company, would you say Portal would deliver better results compared to Analyzer and Retargeter? And if so, would that mean I can completely eliminate Analyzer and Retargeter from my pipeline? Chris, I'll give you that one.
Yeah. That's an excellent question. So with Faceware Portal, there's many different ways, if you're familiar with Analyzer and Retargeter, that you can use the pipeline. You can use Portal to eliminate Analyzer from your pipeline, which allows you to spend more time on your retargeting, either hand retargeting or Autosolve. So to answer your question shortly, since there's many, it really depends on your project and your needs. So it's something where if you're interested in doing that, we can hop on a call and do a couple of tests and see what works for you, and you can decide what part of our pipeline works for you.
Cool. I see a question here that says, in regards to Metahuman, how would you say this compares to Epic or what they demonstrated with their new animation pipeline at GDC? I would say to Brian, I haven't seen too much about the quality that they've been able to generate. I know it's still new, and then there's a couple months away from them putting that out. This Portal undoubtedly is way more open, as opposed to just being a process that can go into Metahumans or just into Unreal. Portal allows you to track pretty much any footage, not just from an iPhone camera, but any facial performance data from any video source and go into whatever engine or whatever pipeline you prefer. So that alone is a huge value add for us and for a lot of our users. Chris, I do have another question here about frame rate. Maybe just touch on that in case somebody missed it before.
Oh yeah, so with frame rate and Portal, any frame rate works, any standard frame rate, 24, 30, 60, 59.94, 29.97, yeah, too many numbers. So I might mess up. Anyways, any frame rate works, depends on your project. We recommend starting at 60 and shooting all your capture and doing your cleanup at 60 and then baking it down to whatever frame rate you need. But Portal and Analyzer and Retargeter does take any frame rate as well.
Thanks, Chris. I have a question here. We're asking a little bit more information about Faceware Portal as a service. This is from Joe Els. It says, in terms of utilizing Portal as a service, do you need a specific size project in order to take advantage of it? It's a great question, Joe. I appreciate you asking that. Essentially, like I mentioned before, Portal is wrapped into an unlimited style model, and that may not be right for all teams. We've had a lot of teams reach out and say, hey, what's attractive to me is the speed of Portal, the not having to do a tracking model, and the quality gains as opposed to using Analyzer. But I don't need 10 or 6 hours of data or 100 hours of data. I have 30 minutes. And so what we have rolled out is that service model for a team that doesn't need the unlimited approach. That makes this way more approachable, more in line with your teams spend normally on a facial production pipeline for that amount of data. So we're doing a couple promotions there that we can talk through if you have a small amount of data, or if you did want to do a full project with us. That's all to say, yeah, there's not really a size that matters. I would say the minimum for us is about an hour's worth of data, but if you have 30 minutes, we'll absolutely work with you, or 10 minutes or 15. Usually what that means is we'll process whatever that amount is up front, and then over the next 12 months, you have that remainder balance that you can send to us, and we'll process and get it back to you. If that makes sense. So if you do 15 minutes up front, we got 45 minutes still in the bank that we'll help you with. And of course, we can do tests there. So if you want to send us some data before you sign up for anything like that, of course, you can always reach out to me and Chris, and we can help you with that. I got a question here from Simon Habib, our good old friend Simon, who says, he says, great to see the inclusion of the IR HMC footage. He's definitely going to try it and provide some feedback. And he also said the addition of the projects will be great to keep things organized. He could see these being used to split up recording sessions as well. Oh, sorry, he asks this. Could this be used to split up recording sessions as well? Or is there a chance we'll see projects being split up in the future? Chris, you want to take that one?
Yeah, so can you repeat it one more time?
Yeah, sure.
Sorry.
All right, no problem.
Make sure I answer it correctly.
He basically says he really likes the projects feature, being able to split things up. And he said, is there a way in the future we'll have the ability to split up additional projects?
So I wish you were here, Simon, to ask that question, ask a follow-up question, but to kind of answer your question, the way we view projects right now is that you can set it up to work as what works best for you. So if that's using projects as multiple projects, like project A character 1, project A character 2, or you want to individually put all of your videos in one project, that's how we're organizing. It's something that we kind of knew that would be asked. So whether it is on our roadmap or not, I actually don't have the answer to that, but I understand your question, and I will take a note to our development team.
Perfect. He also says he hasn't been using calibration images, but have we found a significant improvement of using them for the tracking after using one?
Yeah, so calibration images are used specifically for the JSON and Autosolve workflows. So if you're just using our regular retargeter workflow, it's not going to improve the tracking quality between using one and not using one. What will improve is the JSON and Autosolve workflow. So if you think down the line that you're going to be potentially using that, like you're like, I'm just going to use our standard retargeter workflow for cinematics, but down the line there's a chance, I would highly recommend always uploading and having a neutral frame uploaded with those. That way you don't have to go back and try to find one. You just always have that option if you need it.
Thanks. I see a couple former Faceware folks in the chat. I see Katie Jo and Ari. Hey guys, good to see y'all. Katie Jo says Portal looks like it takes a lot of pressure off of operators. Exactly. I'm glad you caught that, Katie Jo. And Ari said he's looking forward to trying it out at his new company. Thanks, Ari. I'm looking forward to you trying it out too, man. Let's see here. I also have a question about Mark IV plus Portal, why the two work so well together. I think maybe that's worth clarifying too, since we have this new grayscale model, but if teams have a Mark IV plus Portal, why would we recommend that? I'll give a first pass at that, Chris. If I miss anything, you feel free. jump in. So essentially, a lot of teams do ask this question, like, why would I use both? The biggest thing is our training model, all of our track data, all of our background and technology is based off of our data set, which does come primarily from our headcams. And then on the larger scale from there, we know our headcams are designed around production standards. So they effortlessly incorporate with an existing mocap pipeline. They get audio and time code really well. They're also extremely stable. They have really good lighting. So on your actor side, we know that an actor is going to be very comfortable and perform well and not be distracted while wearing one of our Mark IVs. But then on our data side, we know that our data coming from a Mark IV is guaranteed to work well with the Portal pipeline. Whereas if you are recreating a headcam, you're making one yourself, oftentimes it may work, oftentimes it can work, but it's something that if we see something and it's not working, it's harder for us to diagnose why. It's harder for us to tell you this is what you need to change about your custom-made headcam, and usually we can't do that. That's a big reason. Chris, anything I missed there?
No, I think you got it all. Our headcams are built for production. I've used them on lots of different shoots, from cinematics to gameplay, and they're just really stable. And with that comes stability in your data. And when you're doing the retarget, whether it's the Autosolve or the JSON workflow or just cinematic retargeting. So if you're looking for the highest quality, our headcam is going to do that. And it's because of the Mark IV iteration and how many iterations we've done over the years and the work we've put into making it excellent on productions. But we do take other footage, like Max was saying.
I got a question here, maybe because of what the data visualization was looking like. I have a message from James here in the chat that says, does Portal not track cheeks?
Does Portal not track? Great question. So when you look at the Portal markers that you saw, what those are reference points. So those are just the reference points that we have chosen to show because they help you decide if the tracking is well. There's a lot more going on under the hood than just those tracking points. I don't want to go into too much detail here, but there's a lot more going on under the hood that is looking into other parts of the face.
Perfect, thanks, Chris. Also, I'm seeing here a question from Lee. Lee, you asked, hey, good to see you, Lee. He asks, how would we define head start animation? This is most clearly on our side defined by what Chris just demonstrated. You might have asked this question before we actually even showed it, Lee, so apologies if you have the answer now, but we showed this as like that auto pass that we did with either the JSON pipeline or the FWR pipeline, where Chris defined everything there and then quickly processed it. Hopefully that answers it. I also have a question here about landmarks, which is a great question. Ayush had asked, would facial markers help Portal create better landmark data while tracking? You want to take that one, Chris?
Yeah, sure. So neither Analyzer or Portal require facial markers to work and improve their tracking. When we see people using those, it's typically so that their animators have a better visualization of how the facial features are moving. But as far as like, is it going to increase the quality of what you're going to get from Analyzer or Portal? No, it's not going to make a difference. So you can save the time there on production and not have to have that person doing facial dots if you don't want to.
I have a question here. I think this is moving into the performance capture side, which I think I'll move into now. I got a question from Sung who says, can this be incorporated into a Vicon stage, or do we need separate software for that?
Sure. So with our headcams comes a copy of Shepherd. Shepherd is a software that connects to the keypros on a network, and with that, you can set it up to work with Vicon, OptiTrack, Extends, and a few other motion capture systems. And basically what it does is it listens for a trigger from those capture systems. So you can name your take, and then it'll trigger all of your key pros at once. So we've built our whole pipeline around we built the Mark IV around a whole motion capture pipeline and just integrating and dropping into that for ease of your guys' production. And with Shepherd, it does naming, it'll name the take, and you can also assign names, so you can name character name or actor name to each key pro, and then you can view that data in it. So Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. I think feeding off of that, on the capture side, I'll go back to that question we had earlier. The first one I saw was from Asano. I'm sorry, I'm probably not pronouncing your name wrong, but you had asked, can I get a Mark IV shipped to Indonesia? And to that I would say absolutely. Yeah, we do worldwide sales. We have a lot of partner teams and reselling partners around the world too. So if we do not directly help your country, we have partners that do, and we would just introduce you to a team there, and then of course we would ship to wherever you need, including Indonesia. Next question I have is back to, let's see here. Yeah, this is a great question. Ayush, who asked the question earlier, said, do we need to create our own character setups or for Portal, or does it come with a universal one that can be used with any character?
Great question. So with the character setup on your rig, you do have to set that up. We have a lot of documentation on how to do that. Essentially what you're going to be doing is putting your controls for your facial rig into 3 groups: the eyes, the brows, and the mouth group. And then from there, you're going to be defining what those do relative to the data, whether that be in our cinematic pipeline where you're posing the character and saving out those poses to bring to the next video. You're using the Autosolve feature where you're following our set number of expressions and autosolving, or whether you're doing the JSON workflow. But you are having to do the character setup, but the reason we have it that way is so that we're very flexible and anybody can do it, or use our software is what I should say.
Gotcha. I think we'll take one more question and then jump into, if you want to do the batch stuff, Chris.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, so one more question then before we go back to that. I'm seeing another one here from Ayush that says, would the headcam footage take in Shepard's time code that's synced with the body capture, and would that be usable with Portal?
Yes, good question. So when using Retargeter, there's time code inside of Maya, inside the FWR file. So the answer to your question is yes. The short answer is yes. Time code does work with our HMCs, and it does sync with your motion capture system and its time code. And when you do bring all that back in, it will have time code.
Perfect. All right, so I think we wanted to jump into one more thing before we called it here with everybody. So Chris, I'll give you the floor.
Yeah. So I just wanted to swing back around to Portal. As we know, we uploaded that one video and it processed, but I also uploaded a bunch of other ones, and I just wanted to quickly show that in the time that we've been talking and the demo, I was able to batch all of those videos. So we can see here that Portal is extremely good at leveraging, even if you're just, while you're working, you can leverage it to continue processing videos while you're doing the retarget. So I was able to do all these videos in the time it took me to do this webinar, and then on top of that, do the retarget of my character. So it's just wanted to quickly show that it's just leverages time, and you can go get a cup of coffee.
I think that's perfect. Yeah, just demonstrating. And again, you just dragged all those 10 shots in, set the rotation, set the calibration image if you need the JSON data. Like there was no extra steps besides that, right?
Nope.
Cool. All right, let me see. Just want to take one last look at the questions real quick, see if anybody else wrote anything else to us while we were going through that. But yeah, it looks like we got through most everything. I will say there's a couple questions here that are just more easily coming back to and addressing to you guys separately. Some people had said, hey, this is more specific to my pipeline and asking a bigger thing. So I think those usually are like, hey, let's get on a call and actually walk through it with you. But otherwise, we're about at time now, and I want to just thank everybody for your time jumping on with Chris and I, walking through everything. We greatly appreciate it. Appreciate all the questions and sharing some support and love and interest in trying everything out. So until the next time we do one of these, we'll see you then. But otherwise, reach out and we can always start a trial with you, and so you can test the Power Portal yourself. But otherwise, thanks, Chris. Thanks, tell Kenley thanks on her side. And
I will. Thank you, Max.
All right, no problem. Talk to you all later. Thank you very much.
Have a good one, everybody.